So let's get this out of the way. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Very obvious spoilers. I'm going to spoil this entire manga for you, the Zetman manga. And let me tell you, you are not missing a lot. I do not recommend this manga. I'll explain why, but just so you know, the reason I read this is because I thought that it was on par with something like Devilman. I have read the original Devilman. I've read Devilman Lady. I've watched Devilman Crybaby, Devilman Lady, and Demon Lord Dante, which wasn't really that good. But either way, I went into this with some. I knew it wasn't by Go Nagai, who is the creator of Devilman, but I had some expectations that it would be at least that mature or maybe sensible as those mangas. I'm gonna tell you right now, Zetman is very much an edgy wannabe of a Devilman, I guess you could say. It's very edgy. Um, I don't know how else to explain it, so I'm just gonna have to go into it. Also, huge spoilers, but the ending of this 226 chapter manga is the reveal that all 226 of these chapters have been sort of like a prelude, prequel, prologue, right? Is that the thing? For the actual story, which as of recording this has yet to come out. So I don't know if it ever will. It's revealed at the end that everything we've watched or everything we've read till now was all Act 1. And Act 2 will someday come. I don't know. The manga's been over for 5+ years at this point, so who knows? Maybe they're waiting till the 10-year anniversary. Seems pretty long. But either way, let's go ahead and get into this. So let's start first and foremost with our super generic edgelord of the protagonist, Jin Kanzaki, otherwise known as Zetman. So it turns out that there's this Amagi corporation, right? And it's this huge mega corporation that for some reason, I guess one day got bored and decided to genetically create giant monsters that would fight for the entertainment. Sure. Either way, Jin was created to, like, how should I say, to like keep them in line, to become more powerful than all of the monsters. The monsters are called players. It's a really dumb name. I don't like it. And Jin was created, and in his coding, this is so dumb. In his coding, it was supposed to say net, like NET, like a net. But for whatever reason, there was an error, and it showed up as a Z, so he is Zet, and then he becomes Zetman. Like, I don't know, this was just stupid. Why can't he just be called Zetman? Just let him be called Zetman. Either way, as a kid, he escapes the facility with his father. Him and his father end up growing up homeless. Jin ends up, his father ends up dying, and then he ends up living with this older lady that he calls Auntie. She's not really that old though, but either way, he calls her Auntie, and then he ends up having to leave her when he realizes what he is, and that's really it. There's not a lot to Jin, at least like initially. Halfway through the manga, they realize that Jin has no character or personality, so they force him to fall in love with this girl named Hanako, who is also really just one note. I don't really know how to describe Hanako. She is this runaway girl who doesn't like her family, and she likes Jin. Like, that's literally all there is to her until, again, spoilers, she inevitably dies. And I don't know. It didn't have any impact. It had huge impact to Jin, and it was supposed to be huge, I know, because the manga has like a full spread, like Zetman crying when she dies, but it just doesn't do anything. I'm just like, there's no chemistry between them. It very much is a romance where it's like, hey, I'm the main protagonist and you're a girl that I'm talking to, so therefore we have to fall in love, right? And it's like, yeah, we do. And that's it. The bigger issue with this is there is a I guess main character, kind of side character, from the Koga, or not Koga, the Amagi family, right? So this is like a co-protagonist story. There's Jin, who is Zetman, and then there's Amagi Koga, or Koga Amagi, who is Alphaz, which is a really stupid name. I don't like it, but either way, he has a sister named Konoha, right? Konoha Amagi. And she likes Jin for way better reasons than Hanako. She likes him because she sees like the good in him, and she knows that he's a good person. And it's just really sad to see that she loves him so much to the point where she almost sacrifices herself for him, because like there's a point in the story where Jin loses control and she is, adamant about trying to save him. Meanwhile, Hanako is passed out conveniently, so she can't do anything. Either way, Konoha is just like, I don't know. I don't know. She's just like, she has some character. She can be an interesting love interest, but instead she just has unrequited feelings and goes to be a nurse, and that's kind of it. Like, she doesn't really evolve past having a crush on Jin and kind of caring about like helping others, because the whole thing is that her and her mom like helping out the homeless. That's how they end up meeting the next character I want to talk about, which is just, oh man, this is a can of worms to open here. So Koga Amagi, or Alphaz, our second protagonist, is just, how to put this? He is just stupid. Like, you see, going into this manga, you have to realize that like characters are going to be utterly stupid. I mean, utterly stupid. And they're just not going to make any sense, and they're just going to be one note and dumb. Koga is just a puppet, I guess you could say. He is very easily manipulated. He is, I guess, supposed to represent the naivety, I can't say it, the naivety of the hero. And then in reality, everything is dark and gray. Like, his whole thing is that he's like Naruto, every 5 seconds he's spouting justice, because I fight for justice. And it's like, oh my god, dude, I can't take this. And I don't know, again, this anime is very, or not this anime, this manga is very, very edgy. Koga, very early on, has this traumatic experience where like a bunch of his fans are sent to a party, and at this party they all get killed, and it was all the brilliant plan of this mysterious old man who turned out to be one of the like insect monster people. And it's just like, what is the payoff here? Because he doesn't really I guess he loses his arm, so like that's a big deal. Like, it's a big deal when people lose their arms, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Berserk so far is like the only thing where someone has lost a limb and I actually cared. This, you completely forget he lost his arm. You honestly do. Until later on, there's this whole thing where they're running away from the Amagi Corporation, and Koga's like, oh, there's a tracker in my arm, so he removes it, and it's like, oh yeah, you do have a robot arm. Like, that, I literally had to be remembered that he had a robot arm. Another character who is a major factor in this story, like huge and kind of, I don't want to say annoying, but too convenient for my taste, is this character named Haitani, and he is part of the group of players who are beyond just being mindless beasts. They call themselves Evol, which is EVOL, which is love backwards, because their bar there as bar, the bar is called Bar Love. Like, I don't know, it's stupid. Either way, Haitani is this like super powerful monster guy, right? But what that translates to is that he is very conveniently always around, always knows how to move the plot forward, and is never killed. Literally, this guy has plot armor up the yin yang. It is insane. And I think that says a lot about most of these characters, as a lot of them are coated in very, very thick layers of plot armor. Literally no one dies. There was a huge setup, so I'm gonna go straight to the end, because again, there's literally nothing to learn from reading all of these chapters. I'm about to tell you everything you need to know for when part 2 comes out. I don't even think I'll read it though. But either way, there's a huge fight at the end between Koga and Jin, right? And you would think that they're setting up a death. You would think that they're going to change the entire story or like have some giant effect. It's all been leading up to this confrontation. And then in reality, none of them die, and it skips 5 years later, and then we get into the actual story for one chapter. Like, that's it. That's literally it. There's a time skip at the end. So then that way, I don't know. I guess they set up for the next story. The whole thing is that Koga was like, how do you say it? What's the word? Not hypnotized, but being controlled, I guess, by this like bug monster. And Jin doesn't like that. Jin ends up, I guess, just fighting him. It's kind of pointless because, I don't know, it never really felt like either of these characters really wanted to fight. It felt more so like the plot wanted them to fight. Like, it wasn't really set up that well. Either way, him and Koga end up fighting, and Koga realizes that he was being controlled by the bug, and he realizes that he went against all of his values of justice. So then he's like, I'm going to, I guess, apologize for everything and then commit suicide. But Jin's like, no, I won't let you. And they have a memory erasing or memory manipulating, I guess, but like a memory manipulation machine, which is super convenient, by the way. Either way, they are like, we're going to erase his memories of those days. And then we're going to Photoshop a picture of Zetman or Jin committing those crimes and not Koga. And then that's the setup for the 5-year time skip, is that in these 5 years, they've been searching for all the monsters, all the players. They have not found Jin, even though he's in the city. Like, it shows him just in the city, and it's just like, well, what are you doing? It's been 5 years. How do you know? Either way, it's just not very good. There's a lot of pointless scenes. There's a lot of pointless characters. There's a lot of, I guess you could call them twists. I don't really know, because they're not twists. They didn't shock me or surprise me. They more so just annoyed me, because it means like, oh great, we're gonna have like 20 more chapters dedicated to this. Like, it was just, I don't know. There's too many chapters for what they're trying to tell and what they're trying to set up. It just doesn't work. It really doesn't. And I also ended up watching the anime, and I really can't recommend it either. It's just boring. I don't know how else to put it. It looks terrible. It's boring. They changed around some things, obviously, because it's only, I think, 12 or 13 episodes. I think it's 13. A few episodes. I guess it would have benefited from being 24, but even then it would have been really boring, because there's a lot in this manga that just really isn't usable. There's a lot you can skip. Honestly, there's a lot. There's even a point like halfway through the manga where Jin ends up fighting these clones of him, right? And it's a super boring fight. He ends up winning it. Oh, surprise, surprise. Either way, he ends up fighting them, and he gets injected with this thing. They don't really explain it. Either way, I don't really care. He gets injected with this thing, and it's conveniently a skip time button and skip action scene button, where when he turns into Zetman, he blacks out. So then that way they don't have to draw him fighting. It just is him transforming, and then conveniently it's like several hours later, and it turns out he won and nobody cares. Like, it was just so dumb. And then it gets dropped completely. Like, it literally just doesn't get explained that he like spewed out the venom or the injection. He just conveniently stops blacking out. I don't know. It was dumb. I just don't know. This manga is so edgy. I guess that's the right way to put it. It's just like, hey, look, this person got sliced in half. Hey, look, this person's eyeballs missing. Hey, look, we're killing innocent civilians because we're cool and edgy and terrorists. And it's just like, I'm not 15. Like, I don't want this. I want more of a mature, good story. I don't want just sexual assault for the sake of sexual assault and shock value. I don't want murder and gore. It's just like, what is the point of this? Give me a reason to care about this, where you're killing a bunch of meat bags and useless side characters. I don't care. I don't know. Either way, do not recommend Zetman. don't watch the anime, don't read the manga, and if a sequel ever comes out, I might force myself to read it.